Now, the question, and I'm going to ask this question to Mr. Rifkin and Professor Lubin, because I think they are the only two that have not answered it, but I want to express what I think I heard from Professor Sands and Professor Cohen already in response. And if I misheard them, I hope they will correct what I think I heard. I think I heard Professor Cohen say that we ought to be seriously contemplating as a next step pursuing the possibility of a special prosecutor to pursue this and pushing it down pushing this further in that way. I think I heard Professor Sands say that he thinks that a more productive course would be to document more or less for history and for future purposes what has occurred so that we make sure that we have some rules of the road going forward, but not focus so much on pursuing those who may have engaged in. Now, I may be misstating that, and I hope you'll correct me if I am. Mr. Rifkin, I don't think you've expressed an opinion on this, and so what I think is, my question generally is, where do you think this committee should take this, if anywhere, beyond today? Should we just let bygones be bygones and go on and keep trucking down the road, or what do you think we should be doing next in this process?
I appreciate the question, Congressman. You obviously seized this issue and you were doing it. How to bring it to a responsible conclusion? I guess it depends on what is your narrative as to what's transpired. My narrative is entirely different.
Well, I appreciate you giving me your narrative. I think I know your narrative, but I'm more interested in where you think we should go from here, rather than a restatement of your narrative.
Forgive me. I guess I'm with Professor Sands, which is document the history as fairly, as objectively as you can. I think doing anything beyond that would be a gross disservice, even if you think the laws were broken. Prosecutorial discretion implies exercising law enforcement function wisely in a time where people in good faith, not for any other reason, on both sides
we're
of the
not
aisle.
Prosecutors. We're a committee of Congress.
But you can, judgment if you are right, you have a right to reflect as representatives of the people in your own personal capacity. Of course, you have a right to express an opinion. And all I'm saying is that to the extent the Congress sometimes recommends prosecution, sometimes doesn't. I know technically law enforcement belongs to the executive branch. I think it would be madness to prosecute anybody given the facts involved.
I want to come back to you if I have time, but I want to make sure that Professor Sands seemed to be a little discomforted by the way I characterized what he said, and I want to get Professor Lubin's opinion, but I want to give Professor Sands a chance to get a level of comfort if I didn't correctly state what he was saying.
So not discomforted at all, but if there was an inaccuracy in what I conveyed, then the inaccuracy would be my responsibility, and I'm sure not yours. My position is as follows. There are facts which need to be explored, and it seems to me, and I say this with great deference, that is one thing this committee can usefully do. You are going to have some of these lawyers appear before you. You will have an opportunity to put to them specific factual issues that have not previously been tested and examined, and that is a vitally important function. With regard to other aspects, I think one has to accept the following situation. The Torture Convention and the Geneva Convention were violated. Crimes, I think, on the basis of the material I've seen, were committed. Under the Torture Convention of 1984, the United States has an obligation to investigate and, if appropriate, to prosecute or to extradite to a country where the individual would be prosecuted. The position as follows is that, and I set out in the book, there are likely to be investigations outside this jurisdiction in relation to what has happened. Foreign countries, friendly allies of the United States, will have prosecutors, and I describe two of them in the book that I met with confidentially, who've asked me for all of my materials. I think that the reason they are able to do that, and they told me the reason they are able to do that, is that nothing has happened in the United States. And my point, and I probably did not put it as clearly as I could have, is that it's first and foremost for the United States to investigate these matters. It could do so to begin with within this committee, whether it's by special prosecutor or other means. That is a matter for others to decide. But if the United States doesn't address it, other countries will.
Mr. Watt, may I clarify?
Mr. Chairman, the one without objection, the one witness we have not heard from on this is Professor Lubin.
And without objection, briefly.
Would at least like to get his response.
Professor Lubin.
I'll put my mic on and then I'll be brief. I think that it's much more important for this committee to find out what happened, to publicize the memos that are still secret than, I think prosecutions are much further down the road. I don't think that it would be madness, but I think as somebody who believes strongly that people are innocent until they're proven guilty, that it's really premature to be talking about this. I would like to find out whether there were ethics violations committed, and there was no right against self-incrimination for ethics violations. I think that getting the full story out is the most important job of this committee. And if I could say one other thing, I don't think that there's any worry about revealing secret interrogation techniques, because the interrogation techniques have been known for over 3 years, and Al-Qaeda reads newspapers. And the idea that this would humiliate the United States and make things worse, I think, is wrong. It would show that the United States writes its own ship when the ship is listing.
Ms. Cohen, you wanted to answer that too.
Yes, I just wanted to follow up on what Professor Sands was saying about other countries prosecuting our leaders, because that may be kind of a foreign concept to people. What I believe Professor Sands is talking about is the concept of universal jurisdiction, which is well established in U.S. law as well as the laws of most other countries. And universal jurisdiction says that if a country, such as the United States, is unwilling or unable to prosecute its own nationals for these heinous crimes, they're crimes that are so heinous that they're crimes against all of humanity, and any country can prosecute and punish them. And Israel used the doctrine of universal jurisdiction to try, convict, and execute Adolf Eichmann for his crimes during the Holocaust, even though they had no direct relationship with Israel. So this is, and there have been investigations. My organization, the National Lawyers Guild, together with other organizations, have talked to prosecutors in other countries to try to encourage them to do these investigations, because they're not being done in this country.
Thank you. The gentleman's time is now truly expired.